Welcome back to Burn Peak. I'm Seth, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, but kind of the same, because we're going to be watching some old videos of me. My mom is back home right now digitizing old tapes, and she came across what could be considered as the first Seth's Bike Hacks videos. We're talking about videos of me riding my first two-wheeler, making my first tutorial, hitting my first bike jump. These are very spicy. And so I'm gonna watch these with you guys today and kind of react to them. They come up in little tiny boxes on my computer screen because they're in 240 lines, very far from the 4K that these videos are filmed in, but that's what we had back in those days in the late 1980s and the mid 1990s. So with that, I'm gonna go to me riding a two-wheeler. This is the first one.
Is Seth going to take a ride on his bicycle with no training wheels? There he goes.
Now, this is before balance bikes were even a thing. I mean, maybe they were, but I had never heard of them. I certainly didn't use one. And I had this bike with like 14-inch wheels, and I must have been 3 years old.
Don't go into the car!
Oh, and there goes my dad saving the day.
Well, that's not funny, Seth.
But they had this bike set up. It was like 14-inch bike. I can barely reach the pedals. They have the handlebars bent back so that I could actually reach those. Now, something that I haven't mentioned at all yet is the fact that I'm not wearing a helmet. Nobody in the video is wearing a helmet. They didn't even make baby helmets back then. The Tour de France didn't even require helmets until I think the late 90s or early 2000s or something like that. So with that, let's go on to my first bike jump. Okay, so at this point, I'm on a little bit of a larger bicycle. I'm at a different house, and I've got no helmet on. I'm wearing a nice big 1990's sweatshirt, and the bars are way back. I'm sitting down on the seat. My dad probably didn't know to drop the seat down, and for all we know, the seat's as low as it can go. And of course, the first bike jump I'm ever hitting is a piece of wood, like on a log, basically. That's everybody's first bike jump back in the 90s. And I freaking sent it, absolutely, over and over again, no technique whatsoever, just buck and bronco, hit it as fast as possible.
Got to make sure he gets a good running start. That's it.
My dad's mostly concerned with me getting the best running start possible. Oh.
Was that high? How high?
And I'm asking him how high I went. As high as the ramp. I never exceeded the height of the ramp. We got another one, and this one is the longest, and I think in a lot of ways it's the most interesting. I'm a little bit older in this video, and I'm actually making a tutorial. If I remember correctly, I was doing this for school, and I think we were able to draw a picture or make a diagram, or we are allowed to make a video if we had the equipment of how to do something, what we call a tutorial. And before I even play this video, I can see the first frame is a good one. There's an inner tube, there's a bike pump, and there are some vice grips in there. And I know my audience runs the full gamut from professional mechanics all the way down to people who've never used a screwdriver. So let me explain to you why you don't use vice grips to work on a bicycle. Vice grips, I would imagine, are good for fabricating, holding things together, holding things down. They're not very good for turning the nuts on bicycles because if you squeeze it down wrong, it's crushing the nut in all the wrong places and rounding it off. And I even worked at a bike shop a long time ago, and kids would come in with bicycles that were just, you could tell they'd only been worked on by a vice grip. And you know they say, when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. Well, when your only tool is a pair of vice grips, everything starts to look like a piece of chewing gum. So with that, let's play this video.
These are all the tools that I'm going to need to repair my bike.
You can hear the Long Island accent coming out strong. I'm like, these are all the tools I'm going to need to repair my bike. People tell me that I now have a Long Island accent, but it's nothing compared to back then. That was a good opener. We're only 4 seconds in. So I got a couple of bikes there. This one appears to have cantilever brakes and quick release. So thankfully I don't need to use the vice grip on here.
Then I use my tool, get the tire off.
I didn't know this was called a tire lever. This isn't like the modern day videos where I'm putting B-roll and close-ups and things like that. I didn't have the technology for that. I was able to edit by plugging my camcorder into a VCR and transferring pieces of the tape over to it, or rewinding and recording over different things. You'd see like blue come up on the screen every once in a while.
Over here you can see I patched it up a couple of times, but there's still holes elsewhere, so I'm not gonna use it.
Ooh, it's the Long Island accent. I'm like, you can see there's some patches on the inner tube, but there's still holes elsewhere, so I'm not gonna use it. Pff, throw the inner tube. Thug life.
Here I have my brand new inner tube that I'm gonna stick in.
I got my brand new inner tube that I'm gonna stick in. I probably would have put a little air in that inner tube if it was me today, just so that it would hold its form before I stuffed it in there, but for a 13-year-old from the 1990s, I wasn't that bad at explaining things. And every once in a while, I make eye contact with the camera, which is good practice. A lot of people don't know to do that.
Now all I have to do is pump it up and put the cap back on. For this, I use my pump.
For this, I use my pump.
Doesn't take that much thinking.
Doesn't take that much thinking. Kids message me today and they're like, I can't work on my bike because I don't have the right tools, or I can't do this because I don't have the right bike, or whatever. Man, that was a haggard pile of tools right there that I was using to work on all these bicycles. And man, we've come a long way, haven't we? So now I see there are metric hex keys in the frame, and so I guess I'm gonna work on the other bicycle. I don't know what this tutorial is about to be, but we're gonna see.
Let's remove the old brake pad.
Okay, I'm actually gonna change brake pads. And these were V brakes on my BMX. I actually had a BMX, it was a Bontrager. It was like I guess you'd say a dirt jumper or like kind of a racing BMX, but this is what I started riding street on. This is what I would jump gaps with. It's got a one-piece crank. I remember I would save up money, I would ride down to the bike shop, we would get like gloves without the fingers, new brake pads. And then if I like wrecked an entire wheel, then my dad would have to kick in for something. He was actually really supportive and really good about that. Thanks, Dad. You can't see anything I'm doing. I'm just like, this washer goes on, then you put this wash on, and you wiggle this thing around over here, you tighten it down. So just like today, things haven't changed. I don't actually know how to do it the right way. I'm just showing the audience how I do it.
Ooh.
What did I say, Oodis?
After it's all tightened, I'll adjust the brakes. Everything will be all set.
And that's the end of it. That's my closing statement there. Wow. So anyway, my mom sent me a lot of videos. We're doing all sorts of really dangerous things, some things that are kind of mundane, but interesting if you're from the 90s and you remember those types of things. It's just fascinating to take a look back in time. Some of the things that I really noticed was, like I said, the complete lack of any safety gear. And now people just go crazy because it's the age of Facebook and Instagram and just social media, and anytime somebody shares something and somebody's not wearing safety gear, they get shamed. They just get... Back then, it was a different time. There was just no such thing. And there was nobody to criticize you either. You'd show the video to somebody in your immediate family, and they were either too polite to say something, or they themselves had never heard of safety gear. It wasn't even a thing. The other thing I notice is just a big change in video quality from then to now. I mean, we know how many lines, how many pixels were in video back then. When it was on VHS tape, it wasn't even really pixels like we know them now. Now, something that you can't see is these videos back when I was on the little bike. That was a giant camera. That was like this big. It would actually rest on your shoulder, and these cameras didn't have stabilization. They were just stable because they were so heavy, and so you couldn't make little twitches with them. And so, my dad's basically looks like a news camera operator while he's filming me. Things have definitely come a long way since then. Now, anybody who has a smartphone or their parents have a smartphone, they can shoot a video that's in 4K or 1080p at absolute worst, and they can just download some kind of free editing app and kind of do a better job than I did. I just think it's funny that nothing's really changed. I'm in my mid-30s, I've got a kid of my own, and I'm still doing sketchy stuff, and I'm still making videos. So now that we're done with the video, if you're still here, this is actually a new shirt. These letters have all changed since the last time we had a Berm Peak shirt. There are different pictures representing the things that we've done since the last one. So this is the spring 2021 Berm Peak shirt, and it's available now on Cognitive MTB, and we're doing one big run of them. We have a whole lot of these shirts, but eventually it's not gonna be for sale anymore because we're gonna have a 2022 shirt. So get them while they're hot. We also have retro Berm Peak jerseys. They have that sunset color that I have here on the Berm Peak Express sticker, and we're even gonna be throwing some of those stickers into these orders. So head over to Cognitive MTB, check out all the new shirts and jerseys. Get it because you deserve it. Get it because you want to rock Berm Peak merch. It's comfortable, jerseys don't irritate your nipples, and everything looks super cool. Hope you enjoyed coming along with me down memory lane, and thanks for riding with me today. I'll see you next time.
Let's crouch down this time. Maybe you can do it. Are you wet in there?
No!
Seth, what are you doing?
Shivering.
Oh, is it cold?
Yeah!
What are you, out of your mind? Don't go into the car! Oh.